I should have said something. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tova Sido and
Janice Gaunt and
Tom Bridwell.
Band's back together.
Band is back together.
It's been a while.
It has.
Well, been
we
a while.
Posted, but we haven't recorded in 3 weeks.
Yes, we've been traveling.
How was Mexico?
Muy bien.
Muy bien. Did you learn a lot?
Sí.
Yeah?
Sí.
Good. Every time, do you feel like you make like huge progress?
Well, I feel like I make progress, and then I, have been back. So, and I haven't been working on that. But what I'm going to continue to do with my teacher is do a Zoom class every Thursday, and we're just
That's fun.
The one that's in Mexico.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk for an hour
in Spanish. That's
to
the best
each other.
idea.
So it'll be really good.
You know, I lived in Uruguay for 6 months when I was 21, and that's the way you learn. Is just speaking it and being immersed in it. I mean, you can go to the lessons but like speaking it really is the best way to learn.
Yes, and listening to it,
yes,
and hearing it, because that's what is. I noticed when I got back that if I was in the grocery store or some way and someplace and somebody was speaking Spanish, I thought, I can kind of understand what they're saying. So that feels a little better, but I've got a long way to go. I think I need to go for a month.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe
I think I need to go with you at least
3
one of
months.
those weeks.
Yeah, you can come.
Tom,
do you want to come too? Tom in the booth.
I'm in.
Tom in the booth.
I will let Tom, who's not in the booth, come also. We could get a big house.
And there's plenty to choose from there.
There are.
I mean, there's some great homes for big groups there.
Yeah, and it was interesting because before we went, I had a little bit of apprehension just because of all of the things that had happened in a couple of Mexico towns. But when I got there, I feel safer in San Miguel than I do in Dallas.
Yeah, I feel totally safe in San Miguel.
Certainly don't feel safe at the mall.
Oh, gosh.
Makes me sick to my stomach.
I didn't even know that happened because I don't listen or watch the news. And we were coming back from the lake, and I saw that the flags were half-mast. And I was like, why are the flags? He was like, I don't know. So I Googled it. And they mandated that the flags go down till Thursday. And I had no idea that this happened.
I didn't find out until Sunday night.
When did it happen? Sunday or
Sunday
Saturday?
afternoon. Didn't it happen Saturday? Sunday afternoon?
It happened Saturday at 3:00.
Oh.
Horrible. Just horrible. It seems like there's one of these once a week.
I know.
It's the 199th mass shooting of the year.
Think about that.
More than there have been calendar days.
Oh my gosh.
That's if you're going with the metric of 4 people dead, not including the shooter.
Good Lord. And this time they killed the shooter, right?
Yes. A police officer killed him pretty quickly. There were like 6 unused guns in the guy's car, so he had planned to kill a lot more.
Good Lord.
But there was an officer already on the premises on an unrelated call and was able to get there very quickly.
Just horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, horrifying.
Yep.
I know.
I hate it. On a much lighter note, Tom, how was your trip? You had a golf trip.
Yes, I went to Louisiana, and it was great. Squire Creek. I got taken to a really cool Tom Fazio design course just east of Shreveport.
So fun.
Nice.
It was a blast.
Good.
How many guys went?
Me and 7 other men. I was the
Daddy.
youngest by a mile.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, you said you got invited by some guys at your club.
That's correct.
Yeah. You thought you might have been a last minute addition.
I think I was a B teamer. Yeah.
Somebody pulled out and then you got the baton.
Doesn't matter. It
Doesn't
counts.
matter at
That's
all.
exactly
So,
right.
Tom, how were those guys? Was it fun? Did
It was
everybody
a blast.
good?
Absolutely.
How fun.
That's the first golf trip I've been on where I didn't drink. So it was
Oh.
early nights, great rest, no hangover.
So no
awesome.
alcohol at all?
No.
Did anybody drink?
Yeah, everyone else did for sure.
Oh.
But I'm kind of on a little hiatus right now.
Well, how
You
was
said
that
that.
then?
Pardon?
Was it good? Was it
Oh,
hard?
it was a blast. I did other things.
Good.
I did other things. We'll keep it at that.
Tap danced? I like to tap dance when I'm wanting to drink, and I know I probably shouldn't. I just tap dance.
That's hilarious. Well, it's great to be back.
Yes,
I got to go
it
to
is.
Cabo while y'all were playing away, and Cabo might be one of my favorite places.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It's spectacular. Mm-hmm. But now we're all back at work, which I'm
Yes.
really happy about.
Me too.
Thank you to Catherine Ballard, who you said you just saw at the pet bar.
I did. I just saw her with
That's
her dog.
amazing. She's sponsoring this episode.
Oh, nice, Catherine.
Yes. What she has sponsored, it's like her and the McGuires. She has sponsored so many episodes that, I put something out on social media. Hey, if you want to be a sponsor, we were running low. We're running a little low on sponsorships. And she immediately, I'm like, Catherine, when I ask for sponsorships, I'm not asking you or the McGuires. So please stop answering.
That's so nice.
Being so giving. Speaking of, if you are a big fan of what we're doing, which I hope you are, if you probably are if you're listening, and you have not had the opportunity to sponsor, we do. We only have next week taken care of, so we need some love. We make it super easy. You can just Venmo at Tova Sido, and any amount is really appreciated.
Yes.
We like 200.
Yes.
But if you can't do that, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Catherine Ballard. Truly one of my favorite people on planet Earth.
That's exactly what she said about you. I was trying to wrangle my insane acting dog.
Well, she's lovely. Okay, so today I've had several people ask me, and completely unrelated to one another, if you and I would do an episode. I don't know why I said it like that. Do an episode on parenting out of guilt. And it's interesting because one of the girls three very different people asked for this. So one of the girls who said, "Will you please do this?" doesn't have any children, but she is engaged to a man with children. And the way he parents really negatively, out of guilt, in her opinion, really negatively impacts their relationship. I have another woman who's married and with stepchildren, and she's watching her husband parent what she observes out of guilt, and it really negatively impacts their relationship. And then I have another woman who's divorced, and the ex-husband, she believes the ex-husband parents out of guilt, and it negatively impacts their ability to co-parent well.
So I have a question. What is parenting out of guilt?
I think it's saying yes when you should probably say no. I think it looks like with these women specifically, the single mom feels like has to be the disciplinary, but then they go to dad's house and it's whatever. And the dad on paper, caused the divorce. He had cheated. And so he just gives the kids, he's got a bukus of money, and he just gives the kids whatever they want because that is easy.
So guilt is so they're parenting with guilt.
Yes.
And so that
yes.
determines their decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for all of these three women in different circumstances, it really negatively, and I have parented with guilt. When I was getting divorced, I think divorce is probably, or maybe a parent works too much or travels a lot, and so they just give things to their kids. They're parenting with guilt. I know when I was getting divorced, I was so upset about how this could impact my children.
Sure.
That my children got away with a lot more. They could have a lot more friends over because I just wanted them to be happy. If we were at a store and they wanted something, I was probably going. I mean, my kids kind of joke about, remember how awesome it was when mom and dad were getting divorced and we got whatever we wanted, you know, because I felt so bad. I was trying to compensate over here with them, and it said yes to things that I typically would not say yes to.
Yeah, and maybe you really didn't even want to say yes to them, but you said yes anyway.
That's right.
Just because it was going to relieve you of some of that guilt. So if you said no, they would have been like, oh, well, Dad might have let us do this or blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, oh, gosh, so you're feeling shame, too, like you've let them down or you're a bad person for getting a divorce or whatever it is.
Right.
You're acting really kind of out of your value system instead of in your value system just to placate people. Yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially when they're getting divorced, they kind of, it's my experience, it's my observation that a lot of people lose their value system in it for a time because they're just so, when I was getting divorced, I didn't know which way was up or down, left or right. I was just a zombie. And, you know, I geared up everything I had for carpool because I had just had to be on. And the rest of the day I was just so distraught and depressed and lonely and sad for so long that it was like game on when it was time for me to be with my kids.
Yeah, and that's so difficult. I mean, it is so hard because even if you wanted the divorce, it still is hard because of the kids. And I think that we feel just ripped apart on behalf of our kids because they are the victims of that decision. Now, do I think that divorce is the worst thing that can happen? No,
me
I don't. I think living in a really dysfunctional marriage is probably maybe more harming because that's what they're going to see over and over and over again and build a tolerance for it and all of that.
Soak in.
But when you're going through it and people are like, oh, the poor kids. I can remember being in Eatsy's and this woman came up and said, so I hear you're getting a divorce. And I was like, yes. And she goes, oh my gosh, the poor kids. How will they get over that? And I'm standing there thinking, where's the razor blade?
Like,
I got to cut on my wrist.
I weigh 85 pounds. What part are you not seeing? My bloodshot eyes, the alcohol on my breath, and I weigh 85. Yes.
And the poor kids are like, they're at North Park shopping.
Totally. With my credit card.
Yeah, exactly. But it is hard, and it is.
Did you have any of that when you were going through it?
Yes, I did, because it wasn't so much that I wasn't really concerned about the girls quite as much, and that may have been because Bryn and Wesley were in high school and Blair was in middle school. So at that age, their world revolved around their friends anyway. So it wasn't like their day-to-day zippity-doo-dah had changed. And their dad, Kurt, he was very available and really was always wanting to take the girls and doing all of that. So I don't think that they missed a big thing about it. It would have been really great if our marriage had worked and we could have, could still have been together and all of that. But I think because we've come such a long way as far as realizing that we don't have to stay in a marriage that doesn't work for us, then people will adapt and they're going to be okay.
Yep. It's so hard to believe it when you're in it.
It is, Tova. It is.
But you do.
I know.
I met with a woman today and assured her she was going to be. I told her the great thing that you always say, that your mom used to say, this too shall pass. It's biblical. It's just not going to be forever.
Yes.
Tom, so we're talking a lot about parenting with guilt out of divorce. Have there ever been any circumstances where you have parented with guilt?
I was trying to think of that when you were explaining this, and I don't think so. I mean, maybe my wife would tell you otherwise, but I mean, I'm pretty strict. I feel like I say no more than anybody in the family. Mm-hmm. So I don't really remember a time when I said yes because I felt guilty. I guess I don't ever really feel guilty when it comes to discipline.
That's good.
Yeah, that's really good. And maybe part of that is because you do work from home a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So then you have the privilege of being with her, with Betty, a lot, you know. And I think that some men may feel guilty because they are working 10 hours a day away from home and they don't see him. They only see him 2 nights a week or every other weekend or whatever those arrangements are. Mm-hmm. And I can see that being hard for men.
Oh, yeah.
About that.
Oh, yeah. I think I understand the mentality of it. I'm not saying that I think it's necessarily the answer to effective or good, whatever that is, parenting. But I understand, like, okay, I only have them. I mean, I counted it up one time. It was with every other weekend and one night a week. That's like, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 8 days. It's 8 days a month.
So what was your arrangement? You had them one day during the week?
We still keep the arrangement, even though
just one day during the week you get them?
No. Oh, Topher.
Okay.
Topher has the kids on Monday nights, and then every other Friday, Saturday.
Oh.
And I gave him Sunday too, because he's supposed to have them 30 days in the summer, and he doesn't.
Oh,
So, I mean, there would be no way my kids would go just stay at Topher's for 30 days in the month.
No.
So I said, instead, since we're not doing that, every other weekend, instead of just Friday, Saturday, let's do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then every week he has them on Monday. So every other weekend, I don't have my kids Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
And then
that makes
Monday.
sense.
So I can see how Topher would be like, okay, I only see them X amount of days a month. I'm going to choose my battles.
Right.
I'm going to give them everything they ask for. I'm going to, because I have such limited time, I want the experience to be as positive as possible.
Mm-hmm. And kids will use their parents against one another. Well, mom lets us do that. And
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the other day, George texted me, Mom, it's yearbook. Can you Venmo me? And I said, well, it's not my yearbook. It's your yearbook. And so I'll pay 50%. So what did he do? He texted Topher. So 5 minutes later, I got a text, never mind. So then I called Topher and I said, did you just send, I mean, he totally worked the system.
Right.
Right. And it sucks. Like, because in that moment, I have to work out my feelings about, should I have just given him the $100 or was that the right thing to do? Like, it isn't my yearbook. I'm never going to look at that thing. You know, I like for my kids to have skin in the game, but I feel like I am always the heavy with my kids because they're with me more. And so I discipline them more than Topher does. I have bigger ass. They have to clean up more at my house.
I thought you said have a bigger ass.
No.
I did too.
No.
George, you must have a bigger ass than you have. No, we're more of a family unit. You know, you got to do your dishes at my house and you've got to do your laundry at my house. And you're just there more. They have more dishes. They have more clothes. And so I have always felt like I was harder on my children than Topher. And that's been hard on me.
Well, I think that the best way for us to look at that, because my kids are grown, and because when I have grandkids, I just rarely tell them no. But if they were, they're not, well, Owens and Skylar are about to be teenagers or are teenagers. So, that's going to be a whole different thing. But I think that what will help people is if you can stop and think, what is my value system around what I'm about to say yes to or what I'm about to say no to? Because it is hard when kids stomp out of the room and say, oh my gosh, Dad would have let me do that, but you're so mean or whatever. And
Your roles are so dumb.
And just to be able to be okay with them not being okay when you tell them no. Because I think the thing that is going to really help us do it is to think, okay, what would I say? Would I say yes or no if we're still married? You just keep doing what you're doing.
That's really good.
Because we don't always know what is the right thing to do. And sometimes we just have to make a choice and do it.
So true.
But if you can stop for 1 minute and think, if Kurt and I were still married, would I have said yes to that or would I not have? And let that help me. And then when our kids start to use the other parent against us, is you tell them to stop it, that it's not okay. It's manipulation, and it's not going to work. I mean, kids are so freaking smart, and I don't blame them.
I don't blame them at all.
I would have done,
Yeah.
And it is I feel like if you are dating somebody and that person, you're thinking that person is parenting out of guilt, then if you're going to talk about it because they're not your children,
that's really
you want to be really careful.
So let's talk about that. Let's say, okay, like this one woman who's married to a man with 2 children, a girl and a boy, and they come to the house every other weekend, and he parents with so much guilt. So what it looks like is the kids kind of get whatever they want. They get to do whatever they want. There's not a lot of discipline. Like the boy smokes pot in his room, and the dad just kind of looks the other way. They get away with a lot of things that this girl would never allow her children to come into her home and do. And so it's also really challenging when her kids come and his kids are there and her kids are watching his kids get away with things in their home that are really different than what's her rules. And so to your point, you have to put on these kid gloves because those children are his children. They're not her children. So how does that dynamic, what do you do with that?
Well, I think that first of all, I think that it's important that she talk with her husband about it, about, hey, I'm watching you do this, and it really doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for my children. I have had couples come in who are marrying, and they each have kids, and like one person lets their kids take their iPad to bed, and the other parent is
you've
like,
talked about this.
And what I said is, they may get to do different things, but the man and the woman really need to try to collaborate. Now, if I were married to, let's take when Tom and I were married. Well, we still are. Yeah. But when Corey was at home, Corey was he still is a great guy. And, he wouldn't make up his bed or something like that. And I would say, hey, Corey, don't forget to make up your bed. Thank you. But and Corey was great, but if Corey had been sitting in his room smoking weed, I wouldn't have it. I mean, I would say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to rent a little apartment, and I'm going to.
When he comes, I leave.
When he comes, I'll rent my little apartment, or maybe I'll go to the mansion and spend the weekend. And so then, because I am not willing to participate in those behaviors. And so it has to be so individualized, and you have to figure out what you can negotiate.
What are the non-negotiables?
And what are those non-negotiables? Because it was, it's just men might be more lenient than women, and we might be more fastidious about the picking up the house and all of that. But the couple has to figure out a way to collaborate, or their marriage won't work.
No, I think it makes. I mean, for these three women who asked us to talk about it, it very much negatively impacts their relationship. It's really the only thing that they fight about is the collective collaboration of how do we do these combined families. And for all three of them, the fact that they observe that their spouses or ex-spouse parent with guilt, it handicaps them, because when that man's kids are in the house, their relationship is compromised.
Sure.
And that has to be tough.
Yes, I think it would be really tough. I'll tell you a story. I may have told you this before, but when Tom and I were married and Corey had graduated from school, from college, and he came home and was looking for a job. And he definitely was looking, but he wasn't just burning up the pavement trying to find it. I mean, it was a pretty good gig that he had living with Tom and I and Corey. And one day I walked in. He had been home for about a month, and he had interviewed some, but not really. And so I walked in, and Corey was lying on the couch, and there was a Whataburger sack right in front of him, and he was like...
I would have had a nervous breakdown.
He was like snoozing on the couch, and I walked in, and I said, so are you looking for a job? And he goes, yeah, I'm about to get up and start doing that again. So then Tom came home, and I said, let me tell you something. I am not willing to live in the house with your adult child. And I said, so you can either, I don't care if you pay for Corey to have an apartment or whatever, but that just does not work for me. And I said, you have 30 days for Corey to get out. And I mean, Corey was a great kid.
Of course.
But so then at Thanksgiving, the following Thanksgiving, Blair was sitting next to Corey at the table, and Blair goes, hey, Corey. He goes, what? And she goes, are you mad at my mom because she kicked you out of the house? And he said, well, sort of. And Blair goes, don't worry, she did the same thing to me. It was really funny.
It's true. That's like, that's the way I've told my kids, and they think it's child abuse. I told them that when they graduate college, they're not coming back to 6610.
Yeah, maybe for a night, a sleepover.
Yeah,
maybe
too.
It's so surprising to me that any kid would not want to be the hell out of their parents' house at age 18.
I know.
Every kid I know did not want to live with their parents. It's a different time. I mean,
now it's the expectation, I think.
It is so bizarre to me. I don't know what happened, where the change was. But
you could not have paid me to stay in my parents' house.
I don't know any person that lived with their parents like after they were 19. I mean, honestly, like maybe 1 year of farting around with no high school.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah. But even that would be if you didn't have school to go to, and you're just home all the time with your mom or your parents. That would make you want to get out of the house even more, I feel like.
I know.
That's what's so surprising is like, don't you want to get away from me?
Well, I think that there has been a definite shift in that because when I graduated, I'm like you, Tom. I mean, there was no choice. I was out of the house, off the payroll.
Oh, yeah.
Had to get, I got married.
Yeah.
Because that's what we did.
Yeah.
But there was no offer of, hey, if you want to have a year off and travel around
Save some
Europe
money
and say,
Yeah. No, that was it. That.
And the thing about it is that thing with Corey, I understand why Tom wanted that because he hadn't gotten as much of Corey as I had my daughters since he was with his mom a lot, and Tom was just so happy to walk in from work and there's Corey and there's me and I'm got steam coming out of my ears.
Yeah, I get it.
But we laugh about it because it's really funny, but it is different.
Well, I really love your idea of ask yourself, what is my value around this? And then just lean into that. And then with really delicate words, communicate that boldly, though, and effectively to your partner about what works and what doesn't work. Because I think it's okay. I mean, if I'm telling my kids, and I've already told my children, like, once you graduate, you're not coming back home. It's one of the best things my parents did was force me to go figure it out. I mean, I remember living in Park City, Utah, looking for a nickel in the couch so that I could get a bagel. That's how broke I was until my paycheck, I think in 2 days. Let me tell you how much money I asked from my parents after I graduated. Zero. My parents have never given me a dime.
I don't think mine did either.
No. I mean, you even give yours like for Christmas and stuff.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like, I get a $50 gift card to Papa's Steakhouse that I don't even go to. Like it's just nothing, which is fine. And I'm sure I'll spoil my children and grandchildren, and I'll so look forward to that. But I can see even Craig and I as the future. Like, I can see him, same as Tom, really wanting like if his boys wanted, he just loves his boys. He's missed his boys. He hasn't had the time.
Yeah.
You understand why these conflicts, I'm borrowing worry. That's so not happened, but I could see it happening. And you want to be understanding, but you also, like, to your point, like, I've raised my kids. My girls are all gone. Like, this guy's eating Whataburger on my couch at 2:00 in the afternoon. And I just woke him up because I walked in. Like, it's got to change. Like, I would feel the exact same way as you.
And it did.
Yeah.
And Tom did hear me about that. But it's difficult because you don't want to be the Wicked Witch of the West.
No.
But yet at the same time, if you're not careful. So I believe that what has to happen is the marriage has to take precedence over the adult
children. 100%.
And I even, when my girls are coming over, or if my grandkids are going to spend the night, I always say, hey, babe, Skylar and Charlie May are going to spend the night. Are you great with that? And he's like, yes, of course. He always is. But I want to drive it by him because it's his and my house.
That's right.
And that
exactly
TikTok,
right.
the game's all locked. There are no extra spaces. And so that is going to really help you with your marriage because in the long run, if your marriage suffers because of that, then...
Oh, that's bad.
Then
resentment, anger.
Yeah.
Stepbrothers.
Stepbrothers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is funny.
I think that's just phenomenal advice. That the marriage has to take precedence over your adult children. It just does.
It does. It really does.
So I think so I give massive kudos to Tom. It's not just the person with all the feelings that needs to be considered here. I love that Tom, had you not been in the equation, I would venture to guess that he would have stayed in that house a whole lot longer.
There's no doubt. And I understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I do too.
And I think with guys in particular, because a lot of times the kids spend more time with the mom. Now, Corey probably spent more time with Tom, actually, but Zuma had him a lot also. But because if it is that the kids are at your house, let's say, Tova, more than they are at Topher's, and then he's like, well, now they're out of college, and I'm like, okay, guys, this can be, party. We can have, I can hang out with my guys and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
and there's sports and, there's just a whole lot of, there's beer, there's just a whole lot to bond over. And so I totally understand, but I give massive kudos to Tom that he listened to and valued the priority that was you. Because I think that probably was really hard. And
I'm sure.
Yeah. And if you think about the fact that now he has to go to Corey, it's not you. He has to go to Corey and say, hey, Corey, this isn't working. You have a month to figure out your situation. And, but it's time for you to get on down the road. I mean, you think about that had to be hard for Tom.
Yeah. I'm sure it was, but I really appreciated it. Very much.
Bet. And so I think that's another part is really appreciating when our partner hears us.
I think Tom fully understands if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, about that. And it would be the same thing if my grandkids were at our house 24/7 and it was disrupting Tom's work or whatever. I would want him to say, hey, can we cut back a little bit on this? Or Friday night is not going to be a great night for the grandkids to spend the night because I'm just exhausted. Then I would be like, no problem, we'll do it another time.
Yep.
So then that really helps create a real trust that my partner has my back. Maybe doesn't agree. It doesn't agree all the time, but it really is the glue that will help keep your marriage together.
So good. So outside of divorce, I think that's probably a predominant one where parents often parent with guilt. I mentioned somebody who works too much, or have there been other situations that you've seen where parents really are scared to upset their children or disrupt their way because they just want everything to be perfect for their child?
Yeah, I think people do that all the time.
And what are the reasons behind that?
I think they don't. I can remember when my girls were in high school, and they didn't like me to say no. And so,
of course not.
Yeah, so I had to be okay with them not being okay. If I said, yep, that's not going to work for me, then, well, so-and-so gets to stay out until 1:30, and I'm like, yep, no. Not here. And I just let go of that. I realized that I really didn't need their vote.
Right.
But there were plenty of times when they were unhappy with me.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, totally. I think one of the things that I see, I asked that question and I thought, what would my answer be? I think one of the things that I see is, I think it's my observation that a lot of parents are so worried about where their children fall on the social ladder that they do things that are maybe outside of their value system or used to be outside of their value system because they are so desperate for their children to fit in. So whether it's have a party or serve alcohol to underage children or let their kids stay out way past whatever normal curfew is, because the guilt is that their kids aren't able to keep up with the other kids.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that when my kids were in high school. I never, ever, ever was a part of it, though. I never served underage. Well, when the kids came back from college, like they'd come back for Texas OU weekend, and they would drink, but I didn't ever get like a margarita machine or anything like that. I was too afraid somebody'd have a car wreck and sue me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death of that.
I know. So I was really strict on that. But there were a lot of parents who did allow that.
I've seen parents make decisions that are very questionable just because they want their children so desperately to fit in.
Yeah.
And they feel guilty or bad that their kids aren't cool, and so they try to do the cool parent thing so that their kids can be cool.
Yeah, and I think that's them not acting in their value system.
Me too.
And I think that's where it can be a really risky thing.
And you know what? Actually, as a parent, I don't appreciate that other parents are doing that.
Oh my gosh, no.
I mean,
it's so, you talk about a liability.
Yes.
My gosh.
If I say no, and I will, I'm not going to ever serve kids alcohol in my home, ever. There was one time George asked if he could have everybody over after homecoming. Or no, the parents were trying to find a house for all the kids to go to after homecoming. And George had asked me, Mom, can it be us? Like, there's nowhere. And I said, okay, but let me tell you, there's no alcohol here. There's no alcohol. And if there is alcohol, I'm telling everybody to get out. And so they went to the dance, and all the kids came back to my house, and there were only supposed to be like 20 to 25 kids coming back to my house. So Craig and I had gone to dinner. The kids beat us home. I swear there were 75 to 100 kids in my house with alcohol.
Oh my gosh.
I pulled up and they weren't expecting me. I see kids walking in with like 6-packs, and I'm like, you can just take that right back out. And saw his legs scurrying up the road. I was so livid. I told everybody to get out. I called all the parents. I mean, my house was trashed.
Oh, I'll bet.
There were boxes of alcohol all up and down the street. I
Probably
was so
in the bushes.
Embarrassed with my neighbors. And I told George, give me the list of every single kid that was here. I called all those parents and I told them, your kids knew the rules about coming to my house, and every last one of them broke it. And I mean, they were apologetic, but I think all those moms are really scared of me now. Like, really, hardly anybody talks to me in that grade because of that night. But it's like, kids are always going to take.
Yeah.
Just like I did. I was exactly them when I was that age. Yeah. But God, it's hard being a parent.
Yeah. It's not for the faint of heart, for sure.
It's not. Well, great tips. I really appreciate that. And I think your advice and remedies on asking yourself that question, how would I parent if we were married? What is inside of my value system? Calmly talking about it in a loving, sensitive way with your partner. But also having boundaries and setting expectations. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No. It's not okay if your son is going to smoke pot in my house.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And, if that's the way it's going to be, then I'm going to go to the mansion with your credit card.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, for sure. I'll be there for 6 nights.
Exactly. I think the most important thing that we could probably say is don't be afraid to be a parent.
Yeah, don't be afraid. It's really, it's better for the kids in the long run.
Of course.
And they expect it. They really do.
They should.
They don't like it, but I don't like to be told no either. So that's just human.
It totally is. But kids don't need more friends. Kids need parents.
Yeah, they do.
So
true.
Well, we hope y'all have a fabulous week. We hope you find this to be helpful. And thank you again, Catherine, for being our sponsor.
Yes, Catherine. I saw Catherine today at the dog
She's
place.
just so cute.
She's beautiful.
She is beautiful. And don't forget, if you haven't rated us or liked us or left a 5-star comment on our podcast, we would really appreciate if you would just pause and do that as you finish listening.
If you don't like
today.
us very much, just send us a note.
No, actually, don't even do that.
You can send me a note. I'll just tear it up.
Just don't listen. That's okay.
No, we want you to listen.
All right. Y'all have an amazing week. Thank you.
Thank you.